Today, we're going to look into how to build our own voice booking system. It knows when to contact our existing customers to remind them when they're due to be rebooked in. So let's get straight into it. I'll show you the demo so you can see it in action. And then over the next few videos in this series, I'll show you step by step how to build this. Let's go. So it's just going to trigger a call right now. Let me send it off and it should come through to my phone. There it is now. I'll put it on speaker. Hello.
Hi, am I speaking with Harry?
Yes, you are.
Hi, Harry. This is Tony from Clearview in London. We're just calling to let you know your annual eye checkup is coming up. If you're free in the next 2 weeks, we'd love to offer you 30% off your appointment. Are you interested in booking a spot?
Yeah, sounds great.
Perfect. Thanks, Harry. Just to confirm, I have your email as harry@adsamai.com. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Perfect. Thank you. Before we book it in, would you say your eyesight has changed since your last checkup?
Yeah, it's got a bit worse, unfortunately.
Thanks for letting me know, Harry. Do you have a date and time in mind that works for you?
In fact, could we do about 10 a.m. tomorrow? Would that work?
It looks like 10 a.m. tomorrow isn't available, but we do have 11 a.m. or 3 p.m. open that day. Would either of those work for you?
Could we do 11 a.m., please?
Great. I've booked your appointment with a 30% discount. You'll receive a confirmation SMS shortly. Before I let you go, do you have any other questions?
No, that's all, thanks.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. We look forward to seeing you. Have a lovely day.
Thank you, bye. And it just hangs up for me. And just like that, we've got like a personalized message with all the information about the appointment. It's really cool. Just straight sent to my phone that I called up on. So what we're going to be covering in this course and these series of videos is, firstly, we use Retell AI for actually hosting the agent. And this is basically the brain. It decides how to act, how it sounds, all this configured in a Retell AI account. We connect that up to something called NA10, and that allows the agent to have tools it can use at its disposal to carry out tasks on your behalf. And this is completely code-based, but it's no code, so very easy to use, and great observability on what's going on. That means how the agent works is it's basically determines, it has a list of buttons of different tasks it can operate, and it decides itself which one is the best one to use at each scenario, such as checking a calendar. It will press the button that triggers checking a calendar tool, and likewise for booking and cancelling. So we're going through exactly how we build that, how we get it to send a text to us, but also it's very important that we have it schedule calls and know when to actually make the calls on our behalf. That way we're not constantly following up, knowing who to call up. We may as well call ourselves if that was the case. But if this can do an autopilot, it can call multiple people at once, it can do a lot more of the heavy lifting for us. So I'll be showing you how we integrate that with our CRM of choice, and then how we pull that information from the CRM and inject it into the agent so it knows the name, it knows the email address, and all the information it needs about the person calling, which makes it really hyper personalized. And also be showing you how we connect it with Google Calendar. That way you can use your own Google account, you can sync it with whatever calendar of choice, whatever you prefer, and this will be using Google Cloud Console to be allowing this to happen. And I'll be going through all of that in addition to our CRM of choice, which we're just going to be using Airtable. It gives some great visibility over all the data and all the calls. We can log it all. We can have it as our database for who to call up. It's just a great little placeholder. It gives us so much observability. It's basically like Google Sheets, but just 10 times better. So that's why we like to use this. Now I'm going to show you every step of how to build this yourself. But if you're a business owner and you want this system running in your business without doing all this technical setup, I do offer a service where I can help you with this. We'll go away and build the whole thing, customize it to your business, and hand it over ready to be used inside your own accounts. So if that's something you sound interested in, there is a link in description. We can book a 30-minute call with myself, and I'll tell you exactly what's possible for your business, the kind of estimates of what it can cost, how much it can save you, and most importantly, help you decide whether it's actually worth implementing or not. We've been building a tool like this using a platform called Retell AI. It's one of the best out there. We prefer this over tools like Vappy. There's a lot more customization and control that we can have over the calls. So to give you an understanding about how this works, we've got here our prompt on Retell. So when you create an account, what you can do is you can create a new agent, and then this is the sort of thing that will pop up. It'll be empty and ready for you to fill out your details. And as you can see here, we're using ChatGPT. Now, when we're using tools, which I'll explain in a later video, we generally prefer to go using a higher model. There's a bit more grunt to it. It's got a bit more cost to it. But as you can see here, we're talking about 11 cents a minute. So it's really not using very much for something like this. So when it comes to building your prompts, the first thing we like to give it is a role and its task. Sometimes I like to keep this separate. In this case, I've kept it the same. And this here, we've gone and given it its information about what it is. It's an outbound call agent. We've given it for the company it's working for in its location. So that's its role right there. And its task is to remind existing patients that it's been a year since their last eye appointment, and we're offering a new eye checkup with a discount, all these other extra information. So it knows that if it's completed that task during a call, that it's done what it's needed to do, and it can quite happily end the call. And if a customer tries to go off on a tangent and trying to direct the call to something different, the agent's not going to be done until it's completed this task. The biggest part about what we try and do at the very start of the prompt is to make the agent prepared and have guardrails, but also know how to behave when something unexpected happens. You never know what a customer might say, and so this is the best place there to make sure it handles whatever is thrown at them. Then the context is, again, it's going to further help with that. It's not going to make up things about the scenario it's in. It knows the context, and with that we've got information about the clinic and the patient. I'll go a little bit more information in a little bit later video about what this type of naming scheme and formatting is. But for now, all you need to know is that just allows the agent to know everything about the person they're calling up. And that's dynamic, so it changes from call to call. So the next important point is the conversational flow. Now, we've got our main flow here, which is telling it step by step what we want the agent to go through when it's handling this call. And then we're going to have an additional flow further down, which is actually booking the appointment. But here is where we're able to make sure that it gives its correct first message. Obviously, because this is an outbound call, we've set it so that the user is speaking first, because usually someone goes, "Hi, who's calling?" or "Hi, Harry calling." So that way the agent is prepared immediately what it's going to say the moment someone starts speaking. You'll realize here is this, it's got some sort of weird symbols and formatting. This is something that's called markdown formatting. There's two types of formatting when it comes to voice agents. There's either JSON formatting or markdown. Now, these are what AI models absolutely love when they're reading information and when it comes to prompts. JSON formatting is absolutely horrible for us to read. So when you're creating an agent, it's really important that you can actually understand what is going on in the prompt when you're building it. So I just pulled up what JSON formatting looks like. It's not very easy to read, but when it comes to Markdown, we can use a tool such as stackedit.io. Now that means when we paste it into here, we can actually see what the actual formatting turns to. So we can see a hashtag means it's a title. And if you do 2 hashtags, then it means it's a subtitle. And you can do 3, 4, 5 hashtags. And that allows you to control the hierarchy of different commands and flows within your voice agent. And that's really going to help the agent to go along the right path and prioritize what its main jobs are. So it knows that's the main workflow. And it's also going to equally prioritize booking an appointment. Any hashtags of 3 or more is going to be a lower priority. In fact, I can give you an example here. We've got 4 hashtags. And that means this example here is nowhere near the same priority as this here. So it just gives us a lot more control over how the agent behaves. And that's really important when it comes to prompting it. So let me go back to Retell. We've got here exactly how the kind of conversation that we want the agent to have. We've chosen word for word. We can prompt it to be differently where we want it to come up with its own wording. It gives it more variation. When it comes to this case, we really want to get quite specific wording. So we know there's a script we like to follow along, and it will generally keep to that if you give it exact wordings like this. And here I'll give you another example as well, is we have scenarios of if statements. So depending on how the person responds to the agent, well, they might have a different outcome. And that means we can prepare for scenarios where people actually aren't sure about booking a slot yet. Then we've got a script prepared for that. And if they are prepared, then we can proceed directly to the next step, existing email confirmation. And we've given it some really important rules here about how we want it to pronounce emails to get it exactly right, because this is one thing about when it comes to prompts, is this is the written text, but the agent is speaking in voice text. It's the vocal way of how you say things. So we need to tell it that an underscore is pronounced as underscore, a dash is pronounced as dash. An at symbol, it's not going to say at symbol, it needs to say at. It's these controls that make sure that we get less of a robotic response and more of a human response. So we're just going to move down here past a few of these prompts, and this is towards the end of our prompt now. We're going to give it a bit more about, again, how we want it to behave. We're giving it a tone and style. So this tone and style is more when it comes to its choosing of words. Obviously, in this scenario, we're giving it a lot of specific wording, but if it was to be coming up with responses on the spot and handling something unexpected, this is how it decides the choice of words it's going to generate. So we're going to be professional, courteous, we're going to be patient, use transition phases to signal topic changes. I quite like doing this. When there's particularly bigger prompts and you've got lots of different steps, it can feel robotic saying step 1, step 2, next we'll do this, then we'll do this. If we have some nice transition phases that it will use, then it goes, right, now let's talk about your booking. Now let's go on to talk about this. It just makes the conversation much more human. And this is one of the biggest parts when it comes to prompting, is to know specific additions that will make it feel human and lifelike as possible. And again, I've done more conversational rules. So we don't want it to be, so when you talk to ChatGPT, for example, it will give you a huge wall of text. We're just telling it, we're going to use everyday words as much as possible and aim to keep sentences under 14 words on average. It just makes it behave differently to how we're used to seeing ChatGPT, in this case, behave. And we'll just tell it we'll prefer things like I'm, not as I am, you are. We do prefer it to say you're. We'll have fillers used in it. Sure, okay, got it. And we never want it twice in a row. Then notes. This is usually where we go the more negative responses, things we don't want it to do. So we really don't want it to say transfer, as we'll be using things called functions in this, or tools. And a lot of the time, if you don't prompt it correctly, the agent might say, let me just transfer you, or let me just trigger the check calendar tool. And this is a way of how to handle that and just make sure that it's going to behave more humanly and not like a robot executing commands. We got certain things like we don't have to offer quotes or pricing information, as that's not being included anywhere in the prompt here. So if someone was to go, right, well, how much would that appointment cost? I've not given that information, therefore we don't want the agent to start making things up. So something I like to have in all my prompts is that you don't know or can't help with everything. This is like a really big one, because with AI, it wants to help you as much as possible. It wants to come up with things. But when it does this and we give that full control, there's something called hallucination, which is where it behaves unexpectedly and doesn't be truthful. It makes things up. How we handle that is having things like this. And when it comes to the prompt, how prompting works, there is a different hierarchy in what the LLM treats different parts of the prompt. And it actually turns out that the start of the prompt and the end of the prompt has got a lot more priority than the middle of the prompt. So by having negatives at the bottom of the prompt, and when it comes to AI, it really does well with negatives. Telling it not to do things means it will not do it. And so that's it. That's the brain of the agent. Now, in the next video, I'm going to show you how we're actually going to go and trigger this agent to go and call up a mobile number of our own, just so you can now actually go and experiment what it's like having and talking to this agent yourself. And if you want help building something like this, any queries down below, comment them, and I'll be sure to respond. And remember, if you want this to be built for yourself, there's a link in the description. And if not, I'll see you in part 2.